when the world is in crisis. And people are looking for hope and answers. Thai PBS World is there with you with the best minds of the day. Join us on Thai PBS World tonight, every weekdays at 7 p.m. Thai PBS World, we bring Thailand to the world. Swadika, very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nad Bunag.
I'm Tulip Nak Sompoplau, and we will start this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight with the news that has been on the first page of almost every news agency in the world, I would say. Is something happened right here in Bangkok in front of the Grand Palace on Sunday night when Their Majesty King and Queen came out from a ceremony at the Emerald Buddha Temple and greeted the crown, and suddenly there was a foreign reporter asked a question, and it's become a news because it's not usual that our royal family will answer anything so candid like that. Let's take a look.
His Majesty the King responded to questions from Channel 4 News in his very first TV interview while meeting thousands of royalists last night who waited in front of the Grand Palace to meet the King and members of the royal family. When asked by correspondent Jonathan Miller on what the King wanted to say to the protesters who are seeking reform, he said, "I have no comments, and we love them all the same." His Majesty the King also called Thailand as the land of compromise when being asked whether there is any room for talks with the protesters. Meanwhile, Her Royal Highness Princess Siriwanuwari also said that the royal family loved Thai people no matter what, while describing the royalists who came out to greet them as real love. The Channel 4 reported that this was the biggest royalist rally in all these months of protests, indicating that Thailand is polarized. However, the King has hinted that there might be a way out from the current situation in the country. At the same time, CNN also said this was the first time that the Thai monarch responded to the ongoing anti-government protesters whose demands include a reform of the monarchy.
So talking about the anti-government, anti-establishment protester, today there was a news that police application to continue holding Thai leader of the protest, Rung Panasaya, on remand rejected by the court. The Pathumwan District Court has rejected the Thai police application for protest leader Rung Panasaya to continue to be held on remand, but allowed the police another 6 days to complete the preparation of the case with public prosecutors. The police want Rung Panasaya to remain held on remand relating to offenses they allege that she committed during the protests at the Pathumwan Skywalk on June the 5th and June the 22nd. The protest was calling for justice for Wanchalerm Saksit, an anti-monarchist who was abducted in Cambodia and has not been seen since. Rung also charged with offenses relating to the reading of a Kana Rasadon announcement. In rejecting the police application, the court ruled that the investigation into the two incidents had already been completed, and the case files concerning her two co-defendants had already been sent to the public prosecutors. The court said it believes that there is no reason for Rung Panasaya to attempt to flee, to interfere with evidence, or to cause trouble if she were to be released, adding that she is still a student. According to the court procedure, Rung Panasaya can now ask to be released on bail. And in another related topic, the Thai Lawyers for Human Rights, or we call in short TLHR, has posted on Facebook said that the criminal court has rejected the police application to extend the remand for สมยศ พฤกษา เกษมสุข เอกชัย หงส์ กังวาน สุรนาถ แป้น ประเสริฐ and อานนท์ นำพา They have been in police custody for 20 days. So right now in front of the Bangkok remand prison, their lawyers are waiting, but we don't have a news whether they're going to be released today yet. And we don't know yet whether if they be released, whether they will be booked again.
Great. And for the past few weeks, we've been hearing more about two more protest leaders. One side from the anti-government protest was Mai Pasarawali, and for the royalist groups is Harutai. And they became one of the prominent figures in the latest round of protests, especially at the German embassy and the US embassy last week, where they had a protest in front of those places. So let's find out more about these two ladies in this report. When Thailand's rising political conflict went international outside two embassies last week, two women with opposing viewpoints were leading the way. Mai Pasarawali Thanakit Wipunpon, a 25-year-old student, led several thousand anti-government protesters to the German embassy to request a probe of the king's visits to Germany. His Majesty the King is known to have spent a considerable amount of time each year in Bavaria. Although police took legal action against her for leading protesters to the German embassy, the young activist still continues to protest for Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha to resign, the constitution to be redrafted, and the monarchy to be reformed. The following day, 46-year-old singer Harutai Mungbunsi showed up in front of the U.S. embassy with a smaller crowd to demand the U.S. to stop interfering with Thai politics. Harutai believes a disinformation campaign is being conducted to undermine the monarchy, which she and other royalists see as a core unifying force in Thailand. Her group, Thai Pakdi, is also opposed to any move to amend the charter. Mai Pasarawali, an undergraduate at Mahanakhon University of Technology, had no interest in politics until 2015, where she saw a video of university students being forcefully arrested for taking part in a rally to mark the first anniversary of the 2014 coup d'etat. This was when she realized that politics has affected every phase of her life. Pasarawali co-founded the Mahanakhon for Democracy group to create a safe space for debate, including at pro-democracy protests. She also co-founded Free Youth, the national protest group behind the big rally at the Democracy Monument on July 18th. 2 weeks later, on August 3rd, she made headlines with her first rally speech, dressed as a witch, in keeping with the protest's Harry Potter theme. However, Pasarawali's rise to prominence in the protest has come at a cost. Already out on bail after being charged for participating in previous rallies, she was hit with a further charge last week related to the German embassy protest. Yet with strong backing from her fellow activists, Pasarawali shows no sign of backing down in the push for a more democratic Thailand. Before venturing in politics, Harutai's first love was music. She debuted as a lead singer of rock band Paper Jam in 1997 before becoming a solo artist and winning several awards. Stars normally lose their sparkle over time, but Harutai has managed to stay in the public eye longer than others. In 2006, she was elected as a Bangkok district councillor under the Democrat Party banner and then re-elected in 2010. When the People's Democratic Reform Committee took to the streets in 2013 to oust the Yingluck Shinawatra government, Harutai joined them and began delivering speeches on stage. She remains a fierce defender of the PDRC to this day, despite its dissolution after the coup. The former singer has never shied away from the battle and is now on the front line mobilizing royalists against protesters pressing for monarchy reform. She believes that royalists are coming forward to protect the royal institution, not to confront with protesters. Harutai's political convictions are rooted in her college years when she joined the 1992 uprising against the regime of General Suchinda Krapayun. She was among the protesters detained during the bloody Black May crackdown that year, which saw Suchinda resign following the intervention of His Majesty King Rama IX. Despite their vastly different stances, Both Pasarawali and Harutai have one thing in common. They are determined to fight for their cause no matter what.
And I'm sure we're going to hear more from both of them, especially
Definitely.
in this month or two, because this political conflict gonna keep on going, I think, for a while.
Definitely, and we'll probably see more of these two people from both sides, the anti-government protesters as well as the royalist groups.
And now we're going to move away from politics, but we're going to get into the coconut industry. In July, PETA actually posted a video on YouTube and on its website claiming that Thailand coconut industry has been exploiting monkey, using them for picking coconut without letting them rest, no social life, and chains and all those torturing things. The latest news is Costco, which is one of the biggest wholesale chain in US, announced that they will remove Chaokoh coconut milk from shelves over reported of the monkey labor by PETA. The president of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals of PETA, Ingrid Newkirk, told the U.S. local media, USA Today, in the statement that no kind shopper wants monkeys to be chained up and treated like coconut picking machines. Newkirk praised Costco's decision in her statement and called on grocery giant Kroger to do the same. Earlier this year, Walgreens, Food Lion, Giant Food, and Stop & Shop also stopped stocking Chaokoh coconut products because of this video by PETA. However, Costco representatives said the company was not able to respond to the USA Today's request for comment. But then, PETA provided USA Today with a letter that Ken Kimball, Costco's vice president and general merchandise manager of corporate food and sundries, sent to Newkirk at PETA. Newkirk said that Costco vice president launched an investigation when it became aware of the possible use of monkeys in coconut harvesting. She said, Costco said that they have ceased purchasing from the suppliers and owner of the brand Chaokoh, and they will continue to monitor the implementation of the harvest policies, and once satisfied will resume purchasing. Kimball wrote, Costco has made it clear to the supplier that Costco does not support the use of monkeys for harvesting and that all harvesting must be done by human labor. USA Today also quote the Thepadungpon Coconut Company, the maker of Chaokoh coconut milk, stated that it has audited coconut plantations and found that none of the 64 randomly selected plantations out of 817 were using monkeys to harvest coconuts. The company's statement said that following the recent news about the use of monkey labor in Thailand's coconut industry, Chaokoh, one of the world's leaders in coconut milk production, reassures that we do not engage the use of monkey labor in our coconut plantation. I actually have a chance to talk to the owner of coconut plantation myself in the Prajop Khirikan, and the owner insists that using a monkey to pick coconut is actually not, not making sense economically, because the monkey can pick only one coconut at a time. And if you use human, you can get the whole branch with like 10 or 15 coconuts and come down at once. And coconut tree nowadays, they make it quite short, that you don't need the monkey to climb up. Most of the things you see monkey work, it will be at some kind of show or some facilities, mostly just for show.
So basically, if people harvest the coconuts, they still have these equipment to get all these coconuts.
They have some kind of tool to pull the whole branch down.
Right. So in contrast with monkeys, they have to do it one at a time.
Yes.
And it's not really like they previously claimed that they can harvest like tons and tons of coconuts at the same time.
I guess it's good for the show, because if you go to Samui Island, they have like a monkey school, and one of the show is to pick the coconut, and that among other things, there's like some theater play by the monkeys and all that thing. But as far as making it a real labor for real industry, it's not, what's it called, economically viable to do so.
And it seems like this dispute is going to be going on for some time unless they found some evidence that monkeys are not used in harvesting the coconuts. But speaking of Koh Samui, the Prime Minister has visited Samui Island to check the readiness of this resort island, whether they're ready to cope with the return of foreign tourists. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha visited Thailand's popular Samui Resort Island in the country's southern province of Surat Thani today. He was there to evaluate the readiness of officials and equipment to cope with the arrival of foreign tourists carrying special tourist visas as Thailand cautiously reopens to foreign visitors in bid to revive the economy devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul said during his briefing that health screening and isolation of incoming tourists are key initial preventive measures and that there are laboratories available for coronavirus testing and the tracing apps are available for tourists who have completed their mandatory quarantine on arrival. The app will mean that they can travel freely and be traced wherever they are in Thailand. The minister also said that the preparatory measures, including medical personnel, medicines, and medical equipment to make sure that the arrival of foreign tourists does not pose a threat to the health of Thai people, or if there are some infections among the tourists, the problem can be contained. Recently, Phuket Island received the first group of about 140 Chinese tourists who arrived on a charter flight from Guangdong. The National Communicable Diseases Committee has approved in principle a shortening of the mandatory quarantine for arrivals from abroad from 14 to only 10 days. The proposal is, however, yet to be approved by the CCSA, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. And just so you know, these are the stories we've also been following today.
Thailand recorded 3 new cases of COVID-19 today who returned from Sweden and Kenya. All of them are now under state quarantine. The new cases brought the total number of infections to 3,787, with 3 new recoveries and no new fatalities. Typhoon Goni, which hit the Philippines on Sunday, has weakened to a tropical storm as it moves over South China and towards central Vietnam, where it is expected to make landfall on Wednesday or Thursday. The Thai Meteorological Department predicted more rain and strong winds in northern Thailand on Wednesday and Thursday, as it warned people in the area to brace for continuous rainfall and flash floods. A major traffic tunnel in Nadi district of Pradinburi province has reopened after it was flooded by heavy rain over the weekend, closing the main highway connecting the eastern and northeastern regions. The highway is the main road link between the eastern region, which includes Lam Chabang Deep Sea Port and the eastern seaboard industrial area and the northeast. Continuous heavy rainfall in the area caused irrigation authorities to release water from rapidly filling dams, flooding communities downstream. 2 people were confirmed drowned in the flooding, 1 in each of the 2 provinces.
And that's all the news we have for you in this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. We are going to end today with the images from Chiang Mai at the Yipeng Festival. It is the floating lantern that people floated into the sky, said to pay respect to the Buddha and also to get rid of their bad karma. It's actually something, I would say, controversial for some people because they said it actually create a lot of waste, and if it fall down on the roof or on the tree while it's still burning, and it can create some fire. But nevertheless, it has been a tradition in the north, and we have some nice footages for you.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ